Hey guys, this is Brando again from Journey into Comics, and today I'm going to be doing like a gaming pickup video where I showcase some of the games that I've got for the last couple of months. I've got about 36 games, so let's just get right to it. So first off, we're going to start with the Goodwill finds for the month, and I get Goodwill about every week. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. It's hit or miss. But I ended up getting a couple of Extreme Sports games, like the original Tony Hawk for PlayStation 1. I've been skipping on this for a while. I got a good deal on it. It was only a couple bucks, and it was I think the 15th year anniversary for Tony Hawk. So that's kind of a neat little thing. And I didn't know that this was even a game for the Wii, Dave Mirra's BMX Challenge. It's kind of like a racing game, but they also have like a mode where you can just do tricks, and you have to hold like the Wiimote like on its side, and then like use the motion controls. But anyway, it wasn't bad. For a couple bucks, I figured I'd check it out. And then lastly, I ended up getting finding this Game Boy Color for like a few bucks, and it even had the Super Mario Land in it. So that was kind of cool. I always end up getting kind of lucky at Goodwill. But moving on to the PSP, got a couple good games for that. The Siphon Filters, Dark Mirror, and Logan's Shadow. I never got into Logan's Shadow. I played Dark Mirror when I first got the PSP. Played through it. I loved it, and I can't wait to get into Logan's Shadow. I always loved the Siphon Filter series on the PS1, mainly the first and second one. I really didn't get into the third one that much. But I also picked up Phantasy Star Portable, and I've never put a Phantasy Star, to be honest with you, even on the Genesis or anything like that. I want to, but I haven't seen any in my local area to pick them up. But I saw this and I jumped on it, and then I was really excited to find this one, the Castlevania Dracula X Chronicles. It's got Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night, and really excited to dive into this. The games have been remade, far as I can tell, or at least Rondo has. And I don't know, I think it says unlock the classic side-scrolling adventure of Rondo of Blood. So that's kind of cool that I can play this, and I wonder if it's the actual TurboGrafx or if it's the Super Nintendo port. I don't know. But moving on. I did pick up a couple of PS4 games, and honestly, they're just kind of like rehashes. First one is the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. I would pick this up because I actually don't own a physical copy of this, or I didn't before now. And why that was is that I ended up getting the PS3 digital for like $10, and I had $20 of credit. And a few weeks or a month after this came out originally, it went down half price for 1 weekend only. So I used the $20, got it for $10, and then I loved it. And I wanted to get an actual copy of it. I could not pass this up. I saw screenshots of it. It was my favorite game of last year, and that's The Last of Us. I absolutely love The Last of Us. I think it's every bit as good as what people think it is, and I think people dog on it just a little too much. I understand the hype was maybe a little too high, but I think it lived up to it on a story-driven basis. Now we're gonna move on to the Xbox, and I got one of my favorite games on the Xbox. This was also on the PS2, but Indigo Prophecy, from the makers of Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls for the PS3. I absolutely love this game. The story, I think it kind of took a weird turn in the end, but I actually enjoyed playing through this. It's a heavy story, interactive story kind of game. So if you like that, definitely check out Indigo Prophecy. Now, the next one's going to have a PS2 title mixed into it, and that is the Splinter Cell series. I got the trilogy on the original Xbox, and I got Double Agent for the PS2. Now, the story behind these is I ended up getting a great deal for these, and I ended up getting all four of these, for like $6. I could not pass that up. And even though Double Agent is on the 360, it was on PS2. It was there, and I just grabbed it and picked it up. I've only ever played through the first one, so the fact now that I have all of them and I can play through them at my leisure, I'm really excited about that. Moving on to the 360, Got Perfect Dark Zero. I got this at GameStop for $1.79. This was actually a launch title, and people were pretty disappointed in it, especially after the first one for N64. I have that one, and I wanted this one just because I had that one. So $1.79, I couldn't just pass that up. I mean, that's like saying no to air. Along with that day, I rebought Fallout 3. If anybody who's listened to the podcast knows, I sold most of my stuff besides PlayStation 3 games and whatnot. And I have a cat meowing at the door, but whatever. And that includes this. And I actually bought all the DLC for it, which is why I only picked up the basic copy. It was only like $5. But yeah, Fallout 3. I loved Fallout 3. Don't know if I'm going to play it again at some point because of how many hours I put into it, but had to pick it up again from my collection. This next one was actually another Goodwill find. And this was it's a 2-pack. It's Sega Superstars Tennis and Xbox Live Arcade compilation disc. And I picked it up kind of just for that. It's got like the Pac-Man Championship and Uno and a few other games. And I did not realize that this exists, or maybe I just went right underneath my radar. But I was really excited to get these on a compilation. And it's funny, when you boot up that Live Arcade disc, it actually sends you to a walkthrough on how to set up the Xbox and get online, and it introduces you to the operating system with the blades. Yeah, that's a long time ago, isn't it? But, alright, moving right along here. I think we're going to go to these next. We're going to hit up some more PS1 games here. So I ended up getting the original Tekken. I have Tekken 3. I actually picked up Tekken 2 with this, but when I got it home, it actually had the original Tekken disc in there too, so I had 2 Tekkens. Unfortunately, they didn't have another Tekken 2, so I just have this one. I'm going to have to track that one down. Fortunately, a lot of PS1 games like this, they're not expensive, and that's how I ended up amassing 87, however many I have. I spent, a decent amount for some of them, some of the RPGs and stuff like that. But Tekken's a great fighter. I love Tekken 3. It's my favorite, but I definitely wanted to pick up the original just to have the series. Another game I picked up, I guess, would this classify under an extreme sports like the other one, but Sledstorm. It's a pretty cool racer, and you pull off like little tricks to get like a boost or combo or something like that. I remember playing this back in the day, and it was only a couple bucks. I had to pick it up. Going on to the PS3, I ended up getting the Star Wars The Force Unleashed. I played this. My buddy had it, and I borrowed it. I don't think I beat it. I know I got pretty far into it. I haven't played the second one. I heard that one's really short, but I'm really looking forward to getting back into this and playing through it. Kind of reminds me of like the God of War, which, speaking of, I did pick up God of War 3, which I waited forever and a day to buy. But I like the God of War series. I'm not in love with it. I like it. My wife really likes it as well, and I got this for like $5. So a couple PS3 games to the collection. And moving on to one last PlayStation 1 game is one I was really excited to find, and that is the big box Resident Evil, the original. I actually have the Greatest Hits Director's Cut, but when I found this, I had to have it. I only have one other big box, and that's the first Need for Speed. But I am a huge Resident Evil fan, especially of the first couple. And to have this was a must-have for me. And it's in pretty good shape, as you can see. Like, I have the paper on the side that kind of crinkles up and it's kind of coming off, but there's no real tears in it. And the inside of it looks pretty darn good. See if I can get that in camera there. It's even got that. I don't know if this was in there before. It looks like it was, but one thing I really dig about it, the manual, it's in pretty good shape. But if you take out the disc, it's actually got like the lab from underneath the mansion. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But this was a really neat thing to add to my collection. I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. Alright, adding another game to my Dreamcast collection. I don't have a really big collection for that yet. But Grandia 2. I'm really into RPGs. I passed on this about like a few months ago, and it took me forever to come across it again. And I've actually never played it. I played the first one on PS1, so I'm really excited to get into this. Now we're going to go to PS2, I think. I got quite a few PS2 games. And we got the first two here are part of a series. Maximo Ghost to Glory and Maximo versus Army of Zen. I actually never played these back in the day. They're kind of like a platformer, kind of fighting game. Go around just smashing the crap out of some zombies and whatnot. It kind of reminds me of like the Ghosts and Goblins or Ghouls and Ghosts series. So it's made by Capcom too, so I think they might actually be related. But definitely check these out if you are wanting to collect your PS2. Maximo series is really good, and I got these for pretty cheap too. I mean, what am I talking about? Everything I get is almost really cheap if I can manage it. To go along with the one of the PS3 games, I got the other two God of Wars. I actually have these on the PS3 collection of just the two, not the actual whole series. But played the first one quite a bit. Haven't played the second one too much, but I got a really cool story about this one. I ended up going to a new store just down the road from me, and when I go to a new store, I don't really like to spend a whole lot in there. And the first time, I like to kind of feel it out, just see what the people who work there are about, how they treat their customers, and the quality of the games and what you can buy there. So I needed it for the collection, so I ended up picking it up. And he ends up taking it, and he opens it up, and he sees that the disc is kind of beat up a little bit, and he's like, "Man, you know what? Disc is beat up. I don't want you to start off on the wrong foot. I'll polish it, and then I'll just give it to you." And I was pretty floored by that. So that place is called Game Depot down in Lebanon, Indiana. If you're ever in the area, stop by there. That guy is awesome. He hooked me up. Definitely got to give him props for that. He hooked me up more than once too in this pickup video, because you're going to see another one. Probably going to be the grand finale. Moving on here, huge Final Fantasy fan, so I was finally able to track down Final Fantasy 12 for the PS2. Never ever bought it back in the day. I got the demo for it when I got Dragon Quest 8. Sold that with some of my other stuff. You didn't need to rebuy that one, but I didn't really enjoy it as much as I did the other Final Fantasies that I played up until then, so I passed on it. A buddy of mine picked it up. He kept telling me, "Hey, you need to try it. I think it's pretty good." I was just not into it, so I'm gonna have to check this out. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. I've heard so much good stuff about it. I need to get over that kind of different fact to it. Got two more of a series that I already had one game of, and that is the first Jak and Daxter and Jak 3. So now I got all three of them. I enjoyed the heck out of Jak 2, and now I can play through the whole series now. I'm very excited about that. It's made by Naughty Dog, the same people who made Uncharted and The Last of Us, and also the original Crash Bandicoots, which my wife is a huge diehard fan of. If it wasn't for Metal Jesus, I would never have heard of this game, and I would have just skipped past it every time I saw it. Unfortunately, I don't think I ever did see it until last weekend, and it was Snoopy versus the Red Baron. This game is freaking amazing, and it's fun. It is like a dogfighting game. You play as Peanuts characters, and you zoom around, you pick up like little bonus stuff, you pick up some missiles, you shoot each other down with it. You can do like the best out of 3 or best out of 5. It's got a campaign mode to it too. Cannot wait to dive into this one a little bit more. It came out in 2006, which is towards the end of the life of the PS2. Well, actually, no, it isn't. But of the active games, 360 was already out. The PS3 was either out or coming out. And this thing just kind of slipped under the radar. Snoopy versus the Red Baron. I wish I could show you gameplay. So much of this. If not, I'm going to link the video for Metal Jesus Rocks video for the PS2 Hidden Gems where this one is in, because it is absolutely amazing. And if you see it, it's cheap, pick it up. Another Square Enix game is Front Mission 4. And I really enjoyed Front Mission 3 on the PS1. I never picked this up. Again, I sort of got out of RPGs there for a while. And I didn't get into Final Fantasy 12. I didn't get into this one either. And I fired this up to test it out. And I was having such a blast with it, I didn't want to put it down. I cannot wait to sit down and do this. The only bad thing about being an RPG fan is that there's never enough time. So I'm definitely making this one a priority. The last PS2 game I played all the way through back in the day. I never owned it, but I borrowed it. And that is Zone of the Enders, made by Mr. Kojima of Metal Gear Solid fame. In fact, this comes with the demo from Metal Gear Solid 2. That's why I ended up borrowing this from a friend back in the day. I played that demo to death, and I gotta say, ZOE is a really underrated series. There's a second one out there called Second Runner. Awesome. Pick it up. Now the last few here are for the Super Nintendo. I got a couple of just necessary buys, and one really awesome one. A buddy of mine ended up going out game hunting, and he found a game that he knew I was looking for, and that is Spawn for the Super Nintendo. It's like a side-scroller beat-em-up. It kind of goes along with all those other superhero side-scroller beat-em-ups. Maybe there's a few other better ones, but this one's awesome. It got released in '95, sort of towards the end of the life of the system. Really, really underrated, I think. I wish it could have been a little better, but I'm really happy to finally have it. And the next one is got to be one of the hardest games ever made, is Super Empire Strikes Back. Now, this whole series, Super Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi, whoever designed these needs to get kicked in the nuts, because these things are just super freaking difficult, way too hard, way too many enemies on the screen. It gets borderline ridiculous later on in the levels there. One of the last ones here is I never owned this on Super Nintendo. I never played it back in the day. It got released again on PS1 and again for Game Boy Advance. That's how I played it. But that is Final Fantasy III, or FF6 over here on the PS1 and Game Boy Advance. Definite top 10 for me. I absolutely love this game. It's almost my favorite Final Fantasy. I'm going to say that's going to be 7 for me, simply because that was my first one I ever played. But this one, 6 and 7, or 3, are probably the cream of the crop. So if you're going to check out any of them, check out FF3 on the Super Nintendo, or if you get a hold of FF6 and for the PS1 and Game Boy Advance, or FF7 on the PS1. Now, for the grand finale. I wish I could show you gameplay, but I guess I got enough here to show you anyway. I told you that story about God of War 2, that guy hooking me up with the free game. He had other stuff there that I want, and this one was one of them, and I wouldn't shut up about it. And I was going to go see how much he wanted for it, because ironically enough, I didn't ask, because I didn't want to open up that can of worms. So I was going to go down and see how much he wanted for it. I had to work that day. I wasn't able to go. My wife said, I'll go down and ask. And she goes, if it's cheap enough, I'll go ahead and buy it. And I was looking at prices online. It's a little high. I said, if it's going to be that much, I want to see it. Well, when I woke up that day, she ended up having it in her hands, and she gave it to me. And that is a boxed Chrono Trigger for Super Nintendo. Very, very happy about this. She got a great deal on it. The box, it's got a few frays on the corner. The box art is fine, though. He gave me a great deal on this. I mean, between the God of War 2 and this, he's got me hooked. I'm going back to a shop and get some other stuff I want there. He's hooked me up, man. Great deal on this. The cartridge is pretty much immaculate. Let me see if I can't get that in there. The cartridge is pretty much immaculate there. No label damage whatsoever. Nothing on the back either. It's great condition. It even came with the posters that came with it originally, as well as the manual. So, super stoked about this. I've already been playing it. Ironically, I never ever played this on the Super Nintendo. I was not into RPGs at the time. I was into licensed games, superhero games, whatever. I was not into RPGs. I think the only one I played was Mario RPG. And that's because I had Mario, and I didn't even own it. A friend of mine had it. I played this actually on the DS, and it became one of my favorite games. And when I saw this and knew how much I loved the game already, and I never played it on Super Nintendo, and I'm collecting, I had to have it. So guys, that's a buttload of games. That was my August. I'm taking a little bit of a break in September, so I probably won't have as many games next time. Hopefully, maybe I can show some gameplay. I don't know. It all depends on where my funds are, if I can get a streaming thing or not. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope Nate does something similar for some of the comics that he does. And please check us out on Journey into Comics on Facebook and Instagram. Like the page. Follow us on Instagram. If you check us out on Instagram, you're going to get pictures of some of our pickups. If you check out my profile on Instagram at Brandom Games, I'll link it down below. You're going to see some of the stuff pretty much as I get it cleaned. So when I make a new video on it, you guys are going to have some sort of clue of what's going to be in the video. Anyway, guys, take it easy. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.